Most retirees who start retirement with $1 million will die with $3 million. Many will die with more than $9 million. That is not a typo, and I'm going to show you the exact math behind it. I'm PJ Gibbs, a financial advisor and the founder of Trello Wealth, and on this channel, I help people build retirement plans that actually let them enjoy their money. Today, we're going to walk through why the 4% rule almost guarantees you end up richer in retirement than when you started, while the average retiree is only pulling around 2% out of their portfolio, and what a withdrawal plan actually looks like at year 1, year 5, and year 15. If you want to make sure you never miss a video like this one, hit subscribe now. Every week there's a new article, a new headline, a new YouTube video telling you that retirees are running out of money, that Social Security is collapsing, that $1 million isn't enough, that the 4% rule is broken. And I get it. Fear content gets clicks. It drives action. It makes you feel like you need to save more, work longer, and generally stay anxious. But there's a number the fear industry never mentions. Research from financial planner and researcher Michael Kitces shows that if you retire with $1 million and follow a disciplined, inflation-adjusted withdrawal strategy over a 30-year retirement, there is roughly a 90% chance you die with $3 million or more, and a 50% chance you die with more than $9.3 million, starting just from $1 million. Put simply, the rule designed to prevent you from running out of money is so conservative that in most historical periods, you end up with dramatically more than you started with. Now stay with me here, because understanding why this happens is what changes how you think about spending in retirement. And I'll show you exactly how this plays out across different stages of retirement a little later in this video. So let's talk about the 4% rule, because most people misunderstand what it is. The rule comes from financial planner William Benjamin, who published research in 1994 testing how much a retiree could withdraw annually without ever running out of money. He looked at US market data going back to 1926 and ran the numbers across every possible 30-year retirement window. The 4% starting withdrawal rate was not designed for the average retiree. It was designed to survive the absolute worst 30-year stretch in US market history. He looked at periods that included the Great Depression, World War II, and the stagflation of the 1970s. Think about that for a second. The 4% rule is a Great Depression level floor, not a ceiling. It is the answer to the question, what is the lowest withdrawal rate that would have survived the single worst sequence of returns in modern history? In every other historical period, which is basically every other retirement window that has ever existed, the portfolio did not just survive, it compounded. The equity markets outpaced withdrawals by a wide margin, and the retiree ended up with a lot more than they started with. So if you've been treating 4% as your ceiling, or if you've been withdrawing closer to 2% because you're scared, you may be guaranteeing that you never enjoy the wealth you spent your entire career building. And that brings me to the number that honestly surprised me when I first saw this research. According to research by David Blanchett, a widely cited retirement income researcher, the actual observed withdrawal rate for a 65-year-old couple in retirement is closer to 2% from their savings. Not 4%, not 3%, 2%. Now, Morningstar's 2025 retirement income research puts the current safe starting withdrawal rate at 3.9% for a 30-year retirement. So the math-supported floor is 3.9%, but the average retiree is only drawing 2%. That's almost 2 full percentage points of spending left on the table. But why does this happen? There's a few reasons, and I've seen all of them firsthand. First, the biggest is fear. Retirees watched the 2000 crash. They watched the 2008. They watched 2022. Every major market event becomes a permanent anchor in their psychology. They become deeply reluctant to sell anything, even when the plan clearly supports it. Second, the absence of a green light. Without a specific rule or a financial advisor reviewing the plan and saying, you're allowed to spend this, most people just default to the minimum. They spend what feels safe, which is usually not what the math says is safe. Third, spending naturally decreases as people age. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College found that the average retired household cuts spending by about 1.5% per year throughout retirement. You simply don't spend as much at 80 as you did at 65. So you have a retiree who started at 2% withdrawal, whose spending is declining every year and whose portfolio is compounding at a rate the withdrawal can't keep up with. That is how you get to 9 million from just 1 million. Not from magic, it's from math. By the way, I want to ask you something. Are these numbers landing differently than what you expected going into the video? Drop a comment below and tell me whether you think you're underspending in retirement or whether you think you need every dollar you've saved. Let's make this concrete. Picture a couple. We'll call them Tom and Carol Sample. Tom is 64 and Carol is 62, and they retire with $1 million in a balanced investment portfolio. They have no pension, and they're waiting until Tom's age 67 to claim Social Security, which at that point will give them a combined $48,000 per year. Their target monthly spending is $7,500 a month or $90,000 per year. In the 2 years before Social Security kicks in, they'll need $90,000 per year entirely from their portfolio. That's a 9% withdrawal rate, which sounds alarming, until you factor in that it's only temporary. Once Social Security starts at year 3, the portfolio only needs to cover about $42,000 per year or 4.2 of the original balance. So, at year 1, portfolio is $1 million. Tom and Carol pull out the $90,000. Markets return roughly 7% on the remaining balance. Even in this early heavy withdrawal phase, the portfolio decline is manageable and temporary. By year 5, Social Security is running. The portfolio only needs to fund $42,000 per year. The portfolio has grown even modestly to around $1,050,000. That is a 4% withdrawal on a growing base. The portfolio starts to stabilize. Now, jump ahead to year 15. Tom is now 79, Carol is 77. Their spending has naturally declined. The research from the Center for Retirement Research shows that the spending tends to drop about 1.5% per year throughout retirement. So the real annual spending has drifted down. They're spending closer to $74,000 in today's dollars, but the portfolio has continued to compound. If markets average 6% annually and they withdrew at an effective rate well below that growth rate for a decade, they could be looking at a portfolio of 1.4 to 1.8 million or more, significantly above where they started. This is not a cherry-picked bull market scenario. This is the math of what happens when a withdrawal rate stays below the long-term return on a diversified portfolio. Growth outpaces the withdrawals. Now let me show you the tool that actually gives retirees the green light to spend in good years. One of the most underused frameworks in retirement planning is the Guyton-Klinger guardrail strategy, developed by researchers Jonathan Guyton and William Klinger. It gives retirees a specific rules-based answer to the question, can I spend more this year, rather than leaving it to gut feel. The way it works is straightforward. You start retirement with an initial withdrawal rate, typically in the range of 5 to 5.5 for a well-constructed portfolio. Then you set 2 guardrails, an upper boundary and a lower boundary. If your portfolio grows and your withdrawal rate drops 20% below the starting rate, you get a raise. You can increase your spending by about 10%. That is the prosperity rule. If your portfolio drops and your withdrawal rate rises 20% above the starting rate, then you take a small pay cut. You reduce spending by 10%. That is the capital preservation rule. If the portfolio just moves normally, spending stays consistent with inflation adjustments. Put simply, the guardrail strategy is your plan's traffic light. Green means spend, yellow means hold, red means trim. Most retirees have no signal at all, so they just assume red all the time. Now, I want to bring up the objection I hear most often at this point in the conversation. But PJ, what if I retire right before a major market crash? Won't I run out of money? This is a completely fair concern. Sequence of returns risk is real. If you retire in 2000 and your portfolio dropped 40% in years 1 and 2, that is dangerous. But the guardrail strategy is specifically designed for this. When the market falls, it triggers the capital preservation rule and you reduce spending automatically. The system is self-correcting. You don't guess, you follow the rule. And here's the thing, even in those bad sequences, research shows that a modest 10% spending cut in the early years of retirement dramatically increases the long-term sustainability of the portfolio. A $7,500 monthly budget that drops temporarily to $6,750 in a down year is much better outcome than a rigid $7,500 withdrawal that chips away at a declining portfolio with no adjustment. Shifting gears to what I think is the most important and least discussed part of this whole conversation. All of the math we've covered, the Kitces research, the 2% withdrawal rate, the Guyton-Klinger guardrails, it all works better when the plan is set up correctly in the 15 years surrounding retirement, roughly 10 years before and 5 years after. This is the transition decade, and the decisions made in this window have a disproportionate impact on outcomes 20 and 30 years later. Three things matter most in this window. First, asset location. Which accounts you hold which assets in. If your entire $1 million portfolio is in a traditional pre-tax IRA, every dollar you spend in retirement is taxed as ordinary income. If you've done even modest Roth conversions in the transition decade, filling up the 12% and 22% tax brackets before Social Security and RMDs kick in, you dramatically improve the after-tax efficiency of every withdrawal for the rest of your life. Second, Social Security timing. Every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by 8%. That's a guaranteed 8% return with no market risk attached to it. Claiming at 62 versus 70 can mean a $1,500 versus a $3,400 monthly benefit for the same person. And for a couple, that difference compounds across 2 lifetimes and directly reduces how much pressure is on the portfolio in the late years of retirement. Third, the withdrawal sequence itself. In the years immediately after retirement, which assets you draw from first, meaning taxable accounts versus pre-tax or Roth accounts, determines your tax brackets for potentially 20 years. A financial advisor who reviews this sequence annually can save a retiring couple tens of thousands of dollars in taxes over the course of retirement, which stays in the portfolio and compounds. But these 3 decisions don't get made automatically. They require a plan, a review process, and adjustments as life changes. That's the real reason why retirees who work with a financial advisor through this transition window tend to be the ones who end up with $3 million or $5 million from a $1 million start. It's not luck, not exceptional returns. It's a plan that was maintained. So here's what we've covered. The 4% rule was designed to survive the worst markets in history, which means in almost every other scenario, retirees end up with far more than they started with. The average retiree is only drawing around 2% from their portfolio, leaving real money unspent out of fear. The guardrail strategy gives you specific rule-based system to know when to spend more and when to trim back. And the 15-year window around retirement is where the compounding advantage is built or lost.